Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. Frank Wildhorn's beloved musical Bonnie and Clyde was filmed live from London's Theatre Royal Drury Lane, starring Jeremy Jordan and Frances Mayli McCann. It'll start streaming on June 24th, and I caught up with Jeremy here at the legendary Algonquin Hotel. I fell in love with this show when it first was on Broadway a few years ago.
2011.
Was it 2011?
2011, yeah.
So what was it like for you going back to revisit this wonderful show?
It was great. I mean, it was wild. I mean, it was a little bit crazy because I was kind of thrown in to this what I thought was going to be a concert, and became like just underneath what a full performance is, like a step up from encores, basically, and so it was just I didn't really have time to overthink it or anything. I just was like, get the lines, figure out the staging, what are you going to do with your costume, and go. Yeah. And then it was over. You know, it was just like this mad dash through it all. But what was great is that it all just sort of came rushing back to me. And it's always fun, revisiting characters that you've played before, which I've gotten to do a couple times now. More than a couple times. It's you hear the old like line reading in your head, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should do that a little bit differently. And so you can kind of like reevaluate things, but you always have that like that muscle memory to fall back on, so you don't. It's not like a whole new process, and then you get to sort of fall back in love with that character again.
So what was the rehearsal process long, or what did you have over there?
I think, this was 2.5 years ago, but I think I had 5 days. The cast is all UK based, and I came in, and my reps and all that stuff were like, okay, well, it's a concert, like he knows the material, he'll come in prepared. I think I had like some other gig before that, so I came in a little bit later, and they had already been, rehearsing, and I was like, well, it's a concert, I'm gonna come in, I'll just get in, it'll be fine. Like, and then I get there, it's all staged and off book. I was like, well, I guess I should have shown up a little bit earlier, but no, it was. I think I had about 5 days, and then we like on the 6th day teched, and did a run through at the same time, and then that night we did our first show, and then did another show the next day, and they filmed it all apparently, and here we are 2.5 years later.
Because I had friends go over there to see you in this. And they had the best time watching this. I know your perception of this is totally different than what the audience took away from this.
Yeah, well, you do all that crazy work, and then the goal is to go on stage and make it look effortless, and so I think we accomplished that. It always feels like a miracle when you pull off something like that, But it was at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, which is like this massive, gorgeous theater in London, and every seat was packed, and so and everybody was just so incredibly happy and excited, and out of their mind to be there. So it was a pretty awesome atmosphere.
We all fell in love with this show in New York. What are your favorite memories of the original Broadway production?
Oh man, we used to do like a bunch of backstage antics all the time, and we would try to like scare each other and goof off on each other, and me and Lauren, Clay, and Melissa were the kind of core. We were the Barrow gang, and we had like little walkie-talkies, and we would all chat with each other. It was just like a really tight group. It was a sort of a family backstage, and one of the other really cool memories is that we realized really early on that the show wasn't doing well, and we didn't know what to do about it because we were just in the cast, but we really loved the show. And I remember one of the actors in the ensemble had this idea to like print out all these wanted posters. So we made wanted posters of me and Laura, and we literally scattered them all over Times Square, which apparently is not legal. And we got in trouble for that. But like, we tried to save the show, it was like, it was fun, but bittersweet at the same time.
And now those posters are on eBay.
Are they?
Yeah, totally.
There's got to be one somewhere.
Everybody wanted one of those.
I know. I remember like weeks later, I'd see like one crumpled up in a corner, or like half disintegrated in a puddle.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about this incredible score you got to sing all over again. Living in the songs of Frank Wildhorn. What is that like?
It's really fun. I mean, what's cool about this score is that it's based in a sort of like rock and roll, rockabilly kind of vibe, and within that, like, there's a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And so, when I first did the show, it was all laid out pretty, bare bones, and like I got to really put my spin and my voice and my character onto it. So getting to sort of revisit all that and getting to tweak little things here and there was also really fun. And just what's fun about doing a show that only does for 2 performances is I don't really have to worry about maintaining my vocal health 8 shows a week. So I just like went off a couple times, which is really fun, and probably paid for it the next couple days, but it's fine. Yeah, it's cool because like you see, kids that are growing up in the theater and they listen to soundtrack or something like that, and they're doing all the riffs that you made up and all that sort of stuff, and it's really cool.
And talk about your new leading lady.
Oh yes, Frances Mayli McCann. She's amazing. I call her Frankie, so I have to like look because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to call her Frances. Am I supposed to call her Frances? I don't know.
Listen, she's a dear friend of yours.
I know, I love her, but I don't know what she's supposed to be called.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see her. She's going to be here for the premiere, but she's amazing. I didn't know her. I mean, I didn't know pretty much any of these guys out there. I've never worked in the UK except for doing my own solo concerts. So yeah, it was a real joy, and they were just incredibly professional and all super talented and really receptive and giving and everything you would sort of expect.
Yeah. Now this is going to start streaming around the world on June 24th. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have fans all over the world. And, many people... Well, no, you do. Okay. We all know that. You have fans all over the world.
All right, cool.
So, I mean, people who heard the cast album can now actually see you do what you do in their home, on their iPads or anything. How exciting is that for you, knowing that this is going to reach such a broad audience?
Yeah, it's always really cool when theater can sort of reach a broader audience that way, and you hope that it's captured in a way that sort of, maintains the feeling of being there live, which I think this does a really good job of, mainly because we were all just like going by the seat of our pants. Yeah. And so you really feel that, and the show really lends itself to that energy. And this is such a beloved show across the world. And, we struggled a little bit on Broadway, but it's become this cult classic. I mean, it's been done everywhere, all over the place, and to tremendous success. And so getting to like be a part of it again after it's sort of gotten its due was really special, and I'm excited to share it with people. I didn't know what it was going to turn out like, but I was really happy with it, and
because you're living in the moment when you're doing it.
Yeah. There's no like there was no pretext. There was no like over rehearsed. I wasn't in my head. I was just going, and which really suits, at least for Clyde, it sort of suits his mentality. He didn't think about the next day. He was just living and trying to get to the next place and stay alive.
Yeah. You leave us sometimes to do TV and film, but you always come back to the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, they're always willing to give me a job. Thankfully. I don't know that I've broken into TV and film quite big enough yet to live there eternally. But even if I was, I would always come back. I mean, this is definitely my first love and the thing I'm most passionate about, and performing in front of live audiences and getting to tell the story from beginning to end and be that sort of vessel that's out there. It's exhilarating. There's nothing like it, and I will absolutely always come back as long as I'm able.
Yeah, but knowing that you introducing people that know you from TV.
Yeah.
And they're coming to like a show now, like, oh my God, he does this live. We were all introduced to somebody that we saw on TV and film. Yeah. What that means to you.
Well, what's really interesting to me is that it was like that for a while after I did this show called Supergirl, and I did Smash. But those are 6-7 years old now. And I still, the most people that come up to talk to me know me from Newsies or from Bonnie and Clyde. And it's like, what's really cool is that when things like this get taped, like for instance, Newsies is available on Disney Plus, and so all these kids that are now coming up in theater and doing shows with their school. Newsies is like the most produced show for little kids, and so or the kids all ages, and it's wild that I'm like still popular for this thing I did, over 10 years ago, and it's because it's lived on in film form, and I think that's it's been great for me because sometimes when you're not working for a minute, and I'm very lucky to be working now. Sometimes you're like, am I still relevant? And then these kids are like, oh, I just watched Newsies, and I was like, oh, it's like they saw it for the first time, So
Finally, what do you look? Sorry, I didn't mean to. What are you looking forward to the most about the June 23rd New York premiere here in New York City?
Oh gosh, well, I'm excited to see my girl Frances, and I'm excited to see it on a big screen. It's really. I mean, I watched it on my phone. They gave me like a little screener on my phone, and I'm excited to share it with friends that are going to come. And that's always the best thing about those things is get to share it with people that you care about and know, are going to be super supportive no matter what. And I'm not a big partier, but maybe I'll hang out for a minute afterwards.
Well, I'll be there that night on the 23rd.
All right, I'll see you
and
then.
streaming begins on the 24th.
Perfect.
Always a pleasure, Jeremy. Good to see you, my friend.